Welcome to our conversation series, Africa Caribbean Reasoning, hosted by the University of the West Indies PJ Patterson Institute for Africa Caribbean Advocacy. I am Paulette Ramsay, and I invite you to join us every month as we reason with different distinguished Caribbean scholars and writers. The UETV will rebroadcast the programs at various times. I invite you to check the schedule and ensure that you do not miss these very interesting and informative conversations. Today, I am delighted and honored to be joined by Professor Lorna Goodison, our own highly celebrated and internationally acclaimed poet and writer of prose fiction. Professor Goodison has had a long and distinguished career as a writer and teacher, both locally and internationally. She is a major figure in world literature and was the Poet Laureate of Jamaica from 2017 to 2020. In 2019, she was awarded the Queen's Gold Medal for Poetry and has won many other awards for her work, including the Wynnum Campbell Literature Prize for Poetry from Yale University, the Commonwealth Poetry Prize, the Musgrave Gold Medal from Jamaica, the Prime Minister of Jamaica Medal for Services to Literature in 2007, and the Commander of the Order of Distinction in 2012. Over the past 35 years, she has garnered wide international attention and has been a central figure at literary festivals throughout the world. Two of her poems are displayed on London's Poem on the Underground. She has been widely reviewed in newspapers such as the New York Times, international journals, and magazines like Essence. Her poetry has been reprinted and presented in many prestigious places, including the Silver Jubilee of the Commonwealth of Great Britain. Lorna Goodison is Professor Emerita at the University of Michigan, where she served as the Lemuel A. Johnson Professor of English and African and African-American Studies. She has honorary degrees from the University of the West Indies and the University of Toronto. This is someone who has taken her own name across the world and represented Jamaica the world over. We are thrilled to have you here today, and we are indeed honored.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
So you reside abroad, but you're frequently here. What does home mean to you, or coming home?
Here's the thing. I never ever wanted to leave Jamaica, and in a sense, I never did. Because when I would leave, I began teaching on a sort of, I would teach like for a semester and I'd come right home. I'd teach for a whole year, but I'd managed to come 2 or 3 times during the course of a year. There's never been a year that I've not been in Jamaica. And sometimes I'm here for like 2-3 months at a time. So I don't really consider myself not living here. I think I'm here more than a lot of people who live here. I'm always here.
Yes, and you do have family here. So
my son Miles lives here, and my siblings, some of my siblings are here.
But this time is perhaps a little different.
Yes.
Coming home is a little different after a major hurricane has devastated parts of your beloved Jamaica.
Yes.
How has this affected coming home?
Well, I lived through Gilbert. I was in Gordontown at the time, and it was an incredibly traumatic experience. And for people to say that this was worse than Gilbert is almost unimaginable, because Gilbert was really, it it made me realize that it really makes sense as a human being to cultivate humility, because we have no power in the face of something like a hurricane.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I had to come home because it didn't make any sense. I was just had the radio and the TV on all the time. I was here, although I wasn't here. So I've come home to do any little thing that I can. I'm trying to do some, just some things with people who can help. And but mostly I just like being here with Jamaica and because this is my place and my people. You know what I'm saying.
Have you been to any of the very devastated areas?
No, because I've been sending stuff on, but I'm preparing. I don't know. It's kind of heartbreaking, but no, the short answer is not the really devastated ones. But I'm planning to. I had to kind of strengthen myself first.
Yes.
I'm not as young as I used to be.
I want to shift a little to ask you about the role that growing up in Jamaica plays in the development of your writing or in how you write.
Okay, to answer that question, I was born in Kingston at the Jubilee Maternity Hospital. I'm one of 9 children. I'm the 8th of 9 children. And I grew up in the city. I was conscious of the fact that when I came to know myself, I went to convent infant school. And so I would walk down to Duke Street as a little girl and walk back up. I know Kingston. My mother was a dressmaker. So from very early, one of the errands I used to run is to go downtown and buy trimmings at Trifilton on King Street. So I know Kingston. But then when I was about maybe 6 or 7, I was sent for the first time to visit my relatives in Hanover, Harvey River, Hanover. My mother was Doris Louise Harvey Goodison, who was born in Harvey River. And her people gave their name to the place. But
Okay.
so I went to Hanover and I experienced the joys of being in a pastoral, bucolic setting. I cannot tell you how happy it made me to just see all the trees and hear the birds and the river. And I thought the river was like a sea. All my relatives teased me, they said the river wasn't that big in Alana, but I thought it was huge.
Yes.
And we would jump in and swim in the river. But it was, honestly, that was my definition of happiness.
Yes.
But I think knowing what I do know, what I've learned about poetry or any kind of creative endeavor, poetry, they say very often poetry is a sort of reconciliation of opposites. Two things, a lot of poems, most poems, in fact, is a working out of opposites. Light
Yes.
and dark, sadness, happiness, things like
Yes,
that. And
yes.
the poem engages in something that works it out.
Yes.
And I think that may have been when I became a poet or I started, thinking about poetry. That contrast between the urban setting and the rural setting and how they came together in me.
Yes. Yes.
And that's my explanation anyway. And I don't know if that answers the question in any way, but that's what I think.
It does, and a lot of what you're saying resonates with me as somebody who grew up in
Yeah.
another area of Hanover, in the countryside, where, as I often tell my students, my UWI students, was where I saw all this beautiful flora. Everybody had a garden, as I
Yes.
like to tell them, and
Yes.
everywhere was always green and lush
Yes,
and
yes.
beautiful. I didn't have that contrast with the city life that
Yeah.
you had, but I do understand what you're.
It really feeds your imagination to
Yes.
know.
Oh,
anything.
definitely.
The only thing I will say though, and I think my relatives would be upset with me if I didn't point out that when I went to the country, there was no electricity. And because I was born in town and I was used to life, I couldn't stop bawling. I cried. And I said I wanted to go home because it was just too dark.
Yes.
And my aunt just let me cry. She just let me sit there and she cried until I was exhausted. And she just put me to bed.
Right.
And then the next morning I woke up, there was this beautiful light and the birds were singing. And I ran down to the river with my cousins. And then by the end of the day, I said I didn't ever want to go home.
And of course, that changed over the years,
absolutely,
where
yes.
electricity came and
Yes,
so on. So let's talk about the cultural legacies, some of the cultural legacies of Jamaican life that you use in your poetry,
Yeah.
on which you draw, or you want your poetry to record them,
Yes.
because many of them, are
Are
being
disappearing.
forgotten.
There's
Yeah,
no doubt
yes.
they're disappearing.
But your poetry has a role to play in recording them, and
Absolutely.
reflecting them,
Yes.
passing them on. So,
I think I'm going to answer you by saying a poem. One of the earliest poems it wasn't a really early poem, but it's a poem about my great grandmother who was from your part of the country. Her name was Leon. Well, I had to, anyway, let not get too far off track. My great grandmother was a Guinea woman. Wide eyes turning the corners of her face, could see behind her, her
funny.
cheeks dusted with a fine rash of jet bead warts that itched when the rain set up. Great grandmother's waistline was the span of a headman's hand, slender and tall like a cane stalk, with a Guinea woman's antelope quick walk. And when she paused, her gaze would look to see her profile fine like some obverse impression on a Guinea coin from royal memory. It seems her fate was anchored in that unfathomable sea, for my great grandmother caught the eye of a sailor whose ship sailed without him from Lucy Harbor. Great grandmother's royal scent of cinnamon and scallions drew the sail up the Straits of Africa, and the evidence is my blue-eyed grandmother, the first mulatto, taken into Bacchus' household and covered with his name. And they forbade great grandmother's Guinea woman presence. They washed away her scent of cinnamon and scallions. They controlled the child's antelope walk, and they called her uprisings rebellions. But great grandmother, I see your features blood dark appearing in the children of each new breeding, and the high yellow brown is darkening down. Listen, children, it's your great grandmother's turn.
that's actually one of my favorite
Thank you
Buddhist poems.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. But that poem tries to bring together Jamaican history,
Yes.
the history of women, even a lot of women. We know what our history says about that. But I wanted always to, have that front foremost in my mind when I was writing, that I was a child who was shaped by history. Whatever I do is shaped by the history of Jamaica.
Yes, yes.
And, and the history of my people.
Definitely.
But sort of local and international and personal and politically, that is all that shapes and informs what I do.
Yes. So what other factors keep Lorna Goodison writing?
Well, I have a friend who is a very, very interesting person he's a Presbyterian minister actually, and he says that my work, one day he came and told me very solemnly, he said, Lorna, your work can be divided into two parts. You write poems about love and poems about justice.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of true. Those are the two things I think that really drive me. I was born on the 1st of August, and I am convinced that that could not be an accident.
Yes.
My mother, in fact, says that I was supposed to be born 2 days before that, and I just wouldn't come out. And she said, I just actually made myself, she swore that I wouldn't come out until the 1st of August. But no, seriously though, I take that very seriously. I think it is a great honor.
Yes.
And I think there must be something that I'm meant to do because I was born on that particular day.
Very interesting. Is it difficult to write from outside?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. There are some things I do that I benefit enormously from being where I am, like when I was because I'm retired, when I used to be at University of Michigan or University of Toronto. And my husband, Professor Ted Chamberlain, is a sort of mind of, he's just this big brain and he knows all kinds of things. But he's a great help to me in that regard. I can speak to him about anything.
Yes.
But there's a big difference with when I'm writing something that is deeply, relevant to Jamaica, when it's sort of out of Jamaica. Then I have to be here. My latest book is called Dante's Inferno. It's my Jamaicanization of Dante's Inferno from the Divine Comedy.
Yes.
And it took me many years to write. But I would do all this research and all this reading, and I do draft after draft. But in order to finish it, I had to be home. Every single time it came to, like when I was handing in the galleys last year, I just had to be here to
Yes.
hear the Jamaican language in my ear, to just be with Jamaican people. So I think that it's some sort of, it has to pass some sort of Jamaican litmus test, whatever it is, that some things that I do. And this one, definitely. Because my Virgil figure, because, in the original, Dante is guided through hell by the great poet Virgil.
Yes.
And my Virgil is Miss Lou.
Okay.
So I had to do it here. I had to finish it here.
Right. Would you like to read anything? Is there any section from that you'd like to read now?
I'll just begin at the beginning. I'll just read a
Okay.
couple of stanzas from the beginning. In the original, most English translations begin halfway through the journey of our life. And I actually had a few earlier drafts which said, I actually published a few which said, I would try to work with the original, halfway through the journey of our life. And then one day I just heard in my head, halfway through the journey of
Okay.
and then I started to cry because I knew that was the right thing.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
Canto 1. Halfway through the journey of our life found me there at midnight in a ramshackle state, for, to tell you the truth, my feet had strayed. Tongue cannot tell how this place was tough. To talk of it again made me frightened all over again, bitter, barren, only death itself could be worse. But the price that I pay for my survival is this. I am now must and bound to tell of the good I found down there. Well, ma'am, well, sir. How to tell how I reached down there so is hard, but my mind was mixed up, contrary divided, and I slip and slide away from the straight path. I walk and walk till I get to the foot of a mountain, at the end of Stony Valley, where what I saw all but caused my heart to attack me in my chest. I look up and see the shoulders of the mountain decorated with sunbeams, sent by the guide planet to cheer the pure in heart along their way. And when I see this, my fear was dampened a bit, so that the panic that did pitch and toss me all night to my heart's core abated. And like a swimmer who is out of her depth in big sea, who battled the waves till she reached shore, and as she blow for breath, she marvels how she managed to escape from grave watery death. Just like that, I turned back to study with awe the dark past none before me did ever leave alive. And as I catch up my weary self, I start to climb up the rocky mountain, making sure to put my foot where I'd have no cause to slip and fall. When lo and behold, there on the mountain slope, a leopardess, partner, her foot light, it's swift, her skin spotted like black ink on ivory dominoes. She was shuffling there, staring dead into my face. She tried to block my every step. All I could do was shape and shift sideways. But now it was near break of day. Morning sun was rising up to take the place of the lingering stars surrounding love divine, whose hands connected the great lights.
Wow. I felt myself drifting off in the richness of your similes, metaphors, and your personifications. The ease with which you slide the Creole into English is just amazing. I could sit and listen to you all day.
Thank you, but it's not easy to do. It
I
just took me
know,
years.
but I do know that
I know,
that
you're right.
craft
Yeah.
takes time, many hours.
Yes, it does.
I do understand that, and of course, I'm having these very strong visual images of the heart attacking. What was it you said? My heart to attack my chest.
Attack me in my
Attack
chest.
me in my chest. Yes. Very graphic. Very.
Also, I want to say that all I wanted at every step to make sure Jamaica was was sort of imprinted on the text, because
Yes.
the original does not. And like I have the leopard shuffling like dominoes.
Yes,
And, you know, if you have anything about Jamaica, you have to have dominoes in there.
yes, yes,
So,
definitely.
you know, the pelt of the leopard, you know, she's shuffling like domino. So also because, you know, I trained as a painter, you know. I went to the School of Art here for a while, and then
Yes.
I studied at the School of the Art Students League in New York. And so the illustrations are mine. Like, this is my painting on the cover, you know.
Okay.
And there are a couple of illustrations throughout.
Yes, yes. I like that phrase that you just used, where you said you wanted Jamaica imprinted
Yeah.
on the text.
Yes.
Um,
That's the whole burden of everything, everything I'm doing. As a writer, I would like people to just see Jamaica and hear Jamaica the way I see it. But it has to be done in a way that people can understand it, you know?
and Jamaica will be so representative of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I would take that a step further to say you're therefore writing out of a deep post-colonial consciousness.
I
And
guess.
from that perspective where you're overturning, right? We
Yeah.
grew up with this British
Yes.
imprint,
Yes.
you know,
Absolutely.
over everything, naming, the place names,
Yeah.
everything. So you're now overturning that to bring Jamaica and the Caribbean center stage.
I'm just doing the best I can.
Yes.
I think I just do what I'm given to do. I didn't think about it a lot. I don't think about it a lot. I don't think this is what I'm doing, you know. I just kind of
Yes.
do it.
But very often the writer doesn't think of sort of political agenda, doesn't
No, I
subconsciously.
think, you know, I just tell you something. During the 1970s, I was very interested and very active in politics in Jamaica. I was just really, you know, I had a lot of jobs that made sure I worked at like JIS, and I worked at JBC, and I was, you know, anyway. And I used to go to we had a lot of rallies, cultural events, where anybody who go through the 70s will tell you that.
Yes,
It
yes.
was a big part of it. You know, we had lots of cultural events. There was poetry readings and things. And I found that a lot of the times when you were, you know, talking about politics, when your poems were inspired by some sort of injustice or something, they tended to be declamatory, and people would just, you know, like, and I didn't want my poems to sound like
Right,
that.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I think you know, W.B. Yeats, a great Irish poet of the Irish people, said that out of the quarrel with others we make rhetoric, but out of the quarrel with ourselves we make poetry.
Right,
And a lot of good poetry sounds like they're quarreling with yourself.
right.
You know, like it is a boring. That's how it sounds.
And subtlety.
Yes.
Subtlety is such an important tool in
Yeah.
writing. So it doesn't have to be clamorous or
No.
loud
No.
for a particular
So have a particular
theoretical,
effect. Yes.
yeah, position to be conveyed, or a consciousness.
Right.
So I use political in the sense of being theoretically driven, being aware of a
yes.
particular kind
Yeah.
of theoretical position, not political in any partisan
I know what
sense.
you mean.
Or,
I know
right.
what you mean.
But
I
there's a
just-
consciousness and awareness, because you said you want your poetry to be about justice. And-
Yes,
and-
yes. But you know, there's another great writer that I liked who said that we shouldn't speak to your readers as if they were hard of hearing. You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So I have been just completely impressed by the many awards you have received, and awards at the highest levels, you know, all over the globe. You received the highest award for Canada's literary production, the
Well,
British Columbia
yeah.
National Award for Canadian Nonfiction for From Harvey River, a memoir of my mother and her people. What does this prize mean to you? You have so many of them. So, you know,
Yeah, well,
but what is
that
this
particular one
one?
was when my husband was born in British Columbia. So it was really, and I lived there. That's where we live.
Yes,
now.
yes, I know.
So it meant, I mean, I was stunned.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know what to say except I give thanks, you know, really, honestly, that people looked at that book, you know, was very well received in many places. And I love that. There are a number of wonderful things that happened with that book. The BBC did like a broadcast on BBC4 for like 3 days just reading the book.
Yes.
You know,
Is that your personal favorite?
I don't have I don't know. I don't know. I like to think that I try to honor my people in that book, and I like to think that I was trying to say to other writers that, okay, let me put it this way. In my family, you see, my mother always told us those stories.
Yes.
And I think my other siblings, you know, like when she started to tell you about this Harvard River thing, oh God, here come the old Harvard River
Yes,
story.
yes, yes.
And I think a lot of us do that with our grandparents and our parents.
Yes.
Oh, those old tired those stories. They
Yes.
don't want to hear them anymore.
Yes, yes.
But I loved those stories. I
Yes.
thought they were wonderful. That story that begins in the book, and it's the truth. My mother's father and went and my mother's father wanted to call her Clarabelle. Her mother said absolutely not. And christened her, said her name was Doris. So he said fine. And then he went into Lucy and registered her as Clarabelle.
Oh my goodness.
And she went to school and everybody called her Doris. And then when she was doing her, the first Jamaica local exam,
Okay.
she went to get her birth certificate and found that they said there's no Doris Savage, there's a Clarabelle.
Clarabelle, yes.
And all these years he never told them.
Yes, that he had gone ahead.
Yes.
And done
So
that.
she had to go by deed poll and change her name. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So, but that's a true story.
Yes, yes,
You know?
yes, yes.
I just thought that was so funny. No, I don't think anybody in my family countenance that. So,
Yes, yes. Truth is.
And there are many stories like that.
Yes, yes.
So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is that there are riches out there if you have the fish
Yes, reservoir.
in your family. Just
Yeah,
just begin to
literary wealth.
listen. Lovely things
Yes.
can be found.
Yes, yes, yes. And your work has been translated
Yeah.
into several
Yes.
languages, German, French, Spanish. What does it mean to you to have your work represented in different languages?
It's a very wonderful thing, and it is not. I'll tell you a story. I was once giving a reading somewhere, and there was a young man in the audience. It was a school. I've read in schools in a lot of places. And when I finished reading, this young man came to me and he had all his gym clothes on. I don't know. And he said, could I hold on to them for him and if I could lend him my book. This was before Google and those things. So he could copy a poem I'd written about my mother, from my mother, May I Inherit Her First String.
Yes.
He said, I would want to copy that poem because it is exactly the story of my family, and I'm from Italy.
Okay.
And it helped me to understand that, love and family, and those things are universal. And it gave me encouragement to just keep doing it's like Bob Marley's music.
Yes.
Some of the particularities, he was, government yard in Trenchtown, making cornmeal porridge. And the whole world loves that song.
Yes.
The whole world
yes,
understands
yes,
that song.
Yes.
So just to just be true to your roots and where you come from and what you're doing. And don't worry about whether it will sell or whether it will travel. It will. If it's meant to, it will.
Yes, yes. So how does Lorna Goodison want to be remembered?
I don't think you have any control over those things anymore. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to ensure that people think about them in a certain way. And then people just think about you how they're going to think about you. So honestly, no, I'm being facetious, but honestly, I think I like the idea of love and justice that I was very much taken with, and I felt that, some of what I try to do in this world address, things about love and justice. But more than that, I like to think that I looked after the people I was given to look after in my life. I have 8 siblings, and I've been losing them. I lost 3 siblings in 4 years. But I was close to every single one of them right to the end, and looking after the funeral. And I just felt that I felt good I felt at peace that I was able to do that, to just be with my brothers and my sisters and my, and my
Yes.
mother, and to just look after them, because that is what you're to do in this world. And that's what I'm really proud of,
And one of the things I'll take away from you today is when you said that writing is hard, which I know,
Yeah.
and when you said, so it's true, that writing should not shout at the readers or quarrel with or seem to
Yeah.
quarrel with the readers.
Quarrel with yourself, not the reader.
And I love that, and I carry that with me. But is there anything else that you would like to say to aspiring writers, young writers?
Well, I think if you have a gift, because you have to, if that's your gift, you've been given this gift. Because I have no doubt in my mind that this was my gift. It was
Right.
given me. I didn't just get up one day and decide, I'm going to do it. I didn't even want to be a poet.
Right.
I spent a lot of my time I used to tear up my things and throw them away.
Yes.
I didn't want to do it because I had a sense that if I did it, I would have to. My personality is such that if I do anything, I have to just do it the full,
Yes,
the whole
yes,
way,
yes,
100%.
Yes.
And I knew that if I was going to do that, it would demand a lot of me, and it has.
Yes.
And but mercifully, one day it began to reward me. It wasn't always so. This is a long way of saying is that if this is what you're doing, then this is what you're doing, and you're gonna do it whether nobody pays you any mind. Now, I would have written every poem I've written if nobody else had ever read them. I just wrote them because that's what I had to do.
Yes.
So I would say just don't be too preoccupied with what you're going to get. When I started to write, honestly, this is no consolation to anybody. There was no prize to get. There was nothing.
Right.
I was just doing this because that is what I felt I was given to do.
Yes.
So if you can maybe just factor a little of that into what you're doing,
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So now I invite you to read another of your poems.
I want to read this the people in Westmoreland. The poem called God of Me.
Okay.
Anybody from your part of the world know there's a fish called God of Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the name in many years.
Yeah.
I only heard it when I was growing up.
Um,
I've heard it since I left.
I wrote this poem a long time ago, but I'm always impressed by there's a fish. God of Me is a sort of, it's an amphibian.
Yes.
It can live on land for a couple of days.
Oh,
Actually, I have a little friend from Westmoreland who told me that as children they used to catch a God of Me and you got it and they go back the next year still living.
Oh.
It lives slightly out of the water.
Okay.
But I think for me it now represents a spirit, resilience, the spirit of resilience that a lot
Yes.
of people from your part of the world,
Yes.
from the West,
Yes. Yes.
called God of Me. God of Me. Tide washed me out of the river, sweep me up onto the bank. I was swimming in sync so with the live currents of the big rivers, 100 rivers of this green island. Now here I am beached, but still breathing. They say I'm the only one who can live so, outside of the water culture where fish flourish and grow. Fish out of water, God and me. Fish live on land, God and me. Slightly amphibian, God and me. My name itself a prayer, God and me. On land I breathe uneasy, but still breathe though, until the tides of mercy pull me back into the flow. God and me.
Thank you. It has been my pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for your generosity of ideas. Thank you for sharing your wonderful and amazing poetry.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, we probably will have you back again.
And
And
I'll be happy to come.
yes, and I'm happy for how you have have underlined the richness of Jamaican life and Jamaican culture. And I think so many of us need to be reminded of this, because we tend to look around and out and far away, too often, and there's so much here. I have not heard that word,
Godame.
As a child, I used to hear them talk about Godame. I knew it was a fish.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it looks like.
Really?
But here now, when I go to the country on Sunday, I'm going to have to ask them if they know it, if they still
I hope. No,
find it.
yes, but I think it should be looked at as a symbol of resilience.
Yes.
The fact that you're,
It's
tired washer.
amphibious. Yes.
Live on land and sea boat.
And it should be held up. I'll pass it on. Tell them to think of themselves in that way.
The spirit of the economy.
Yes.
Also, one of the things I've always loved is how Jamaicans, how we relate to the divine. Because, can I have a few more minutes? Just a minute?
Yes.
One of the things that I love about how Jamaica, what we say, a God, a God. A God.
Yes.
Which means God is God.
Yes.
But, like in other religions or other traditions, they will say, there's no God but God. Means the same thing as a God, a God. But it's like repetition. You're repeating it for emphasis.
Yes.
But you're also saying it is only God who is
It's
God.
only God, yes.
And I just love that, a God,
Yes.
a God.
Yes. So thank you again. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
As did I.
And I'm sure our viewers have also enjoyed listening to you, learning from you, learning about you, and learning about how much you do to take Jamaica globally. I want to remind viewers that the UWI TV will rebroadcast this program repeatedly. So you can, if you enjoyed it as much as I know you have, you can check the schedule on the UWI website and rewatch. Thank you all very much. Thank you so much, Professor Goodison.